beer cans collected at the table beyond Kirby's table. We're all of us.
Oh, I didn't see.
We might have to ask them to settle down.
So anybody wants to stay afterwards, have a few drinks. One minute, I'm going to start one.
Okay, we're going to start here. If you could just settle down here a little bit then, okay? Thank you. Well, I hope you enjoyed your meal. I thought it was, for this many people and a cook like this for this group, I think food was pretty good. So let's give Jake a clap back there, ladies. As I mentioned before, we're here to celebrate and honor a very special group of people. And as Toastmaster, in the past, I used to get a lot of moans and groans because I, told jokes. And my wife's here today, and she said, "Joe, no dad jokes. No dad jokes. They didn't renew Don Ho's contract in Vegas, and they're not certainly going to renew your contract in Vegas either. So there's not going to be any kind of jokes, except I'll do one." That's all. And that's where's Ray Gauker at? Where's Ray? Is Ray someplace? Gosh darn it, Ray. But anyway, Ray wanted to go back for seconds, and if you know Ray, I told him the Russians are in Littlestown, and so he said, "Oh, I guess I can't go now." That's funny, is it? Russians in Littlestown. Gettysburg College. Did you laugh at that one? Do you know about Russia in the Cold War and things like that? And you are studying that, aren't you? Okay, thank you. And that will be my last one, honey. All right. And she's thankful. Anyway, it's a special privilege to recognize these successful individuals for their athletic endeavors. Tonight we will induct 5 living and 1 deceased. Distinguished individuals for their their contributions and involvement in the world of sports. Again, thank you for joining us with your family and friends to honor each individual inductee who come from many walks of life. Each inductee will receive from us a certificate, and I'll just hold this one up since Terry Conrad is the first one up. It says, Adams County Chapter of Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame, Terry Conrad has brought lasting fame and recognition to Adams County, its people, through his achievements in basketball. For his accomplishments, he is hereby inducted into the Adams County Sports Hall of Fame the 15th day of November 2025. So it'll be a nice one, Terry, to frame and put up someplace, probably in your real estate business, huh? Let everybody know. I'm sure you'll get more business then, I think. Okay? And they will also, each individual also receive, besides going up here on the wall with their picture that they gave to us and their bio, they'll get an individual plaque like this, and it says, Adams County Sports Hall of Fame inducts Terry Conrad, and the date again. So it'll be a nice one to get to have in your home and to cherish down the road. Each person who's going to be coming up here will have a presenter, and again, we're asking the presenter to limit it to about 3 minutes or so to introduce that person, give your remarks, and then each inductee about 5 to 8 minutes. If you go over a minute or so, that's no big deal. But we've had people set records, like presenters have done sometimes longer than the inductee, 10, 15 minutes, and it was like, okay. I mean, you had to smile and bear it, but try to, be reasonable with what you're going to say. We all know that person is great. We know that. Again, this allows everyone to participate and give a meaningful time for the inductee. And so let's enjoy the evening, and we will get started with Terry Conrad. His presenter is his brother, Tom. And Tom is a few years older. I'm sure he's going to start off with telling some jokes that I didn't tell. And older brother always has some good humor, so I'm sure that'll be there. So Terry, Tom.
Thanks, Joe.
Your comedian career is over. It's great to be here. Congratulations to all the new people inducted. I had the pleasure 7 or 8 years ago to be inducted. And when I got inducted, I walked around the room and looked at all the plaques on the wall, and I noticed there was not a lot of Delone people on there. So I was with Parker, and then Parker said, hey, look, if you want that to happen, you need to start nominating some of the Delone people. Called Delone. It didn't get a lot of help from Delone, so I thought I should do it myself. So what I did is I went out and started to look at some resumes and comparing resumes to the couple of Delone guys that are already in. And then I was like, this is crazy. I got one in my house who I never knew. I never saw him play because I was 4 years older. So I was in college, he was in high school, I started my coaching career. He was playing at Bloomsburg. And the little bio here is leaving out. I don't know if it's my fault, but my little brother, Terry, and don't let the rest of my family know this, I'm going to say this. My little brother, Terry, had a better college career than me, right? And if my family will tell you, I will never admit that again. But Terry, come on up. You deserve this. It's time for all the Gettysburg young kids to get his flowers. He needs to get his flowers.
Wow, thank you, Tommy. I appreciate that. Yeah, the same thing. I've been here a couple times, and to go around this room and see the quality of athletes, one, but then the quality of the people that are represented here is awesome. I'm so honored to be a part of it. And then congratulations to the other people that are getting inducted tonight. It is a great honor. And I'll just start with my family. My wife's here, my 3 kids, and their significant others. It's been a heck of a journey. God's truth, 31 and a half years ago when we got married, the priest said to my wife, this basketball thing's never going to leave him. So you better be ready to kind of be part of that. And she has, and it's been awesome. My dad's here. We lost my mom several years ago, but my dad's here, and 9 children in that house. It was awesome. People ask me all the time, what was your childhood like? They said, well, my mom used to think out loud, like, why do people pay to go to the circus? Why do they do that? They can just come and hang out at our house. And it was the truth. I mean, it was great. I mean, 3 older brothers that probably beat the crap out of me a lot, made me stronger and better and all that kind of stuff. 2 younger sisters that every time this is why I tell you this, every time we went somewhere and did something, people would come up to me and say, hey, there were 2 girls in the gym tonight that were very loud, cheering for you. Do you know who they were? I said, yeah, that's my sisters. And I said, well, so you got your own 2 personal cheerleaders and everything. So it was always awesome, and aunts and uncles, and my coaches. If you're like me, you remember all your coaches starting from. For me, it was starting in 4th grade. Claire Groff, who we called the Adolph Rupp of CYO basketball. I mean, Claire was just win games after, and then my brother Tony coached me, and Ron Heiser, Tom Staub in high school, Mike Slago, my high school varsity coach Austin Leonard's here, and I had a little bit of a edge to me when I played. I was always kind of confident. Some people would call that something else, but I was always confident. But he allowed me to play that way, coached me that way, never really kind of got after me to be something different. He just let me do that. My college basketball coach, Charlie Cronster, who's hanging up here somewhere from East Berlin, 4 years of I just loved every minute of it playing at Bloomsburg. So it was awesome and everything. So, and Gettysburg, being here tonight, just a special memory for me. I was here playing against a Russian team when I got out of high school. part of a USA team that played against a Russian junior team that was touring, and the Gettysburg Optimist Club had a group of guys that played, and it was an awesome experience. I had a college team, Laike College, that I coached, came into Gettysburg with won a first-round game. One of my players is back there, had an awesome night here and everything, so it's really special. But my whole DCH experience, my Bloomsburg experience, just awesome. But it all comes back to, for me, it all comes back to McCherrystown. You know, being a part of Annunciation, being a part of Delone, the McCherrystown courts where we used to go all the time. Tommy and I were just talking about this the other day. Like, you know, when we were kids, like there wasn't all this summer wrestling and summer football where they go 7 and 7, and there's nothing wrong with all that. But we were just fortunate that everybody liked to play summer basketball. And you go back to the McCherrystown courts at 6 o'clock at night every day of the week, and there were a group of guys that would just play, and it was awesome. And we just, football guys, basketball guys, wrestlers, baseball players, whatever. We would always get games back there, and for me, that was just part of my experience. And then they're just awesome. And I had a group of guys that were just my best friend growing up, Nick Falmer. He's not here tonight, but Nick and I used to play one-on-one all the time. He was Elvin Hayes from the Baltimore Bullets, and I wanted to be Walt Frazier, you know, Clyde Frazier. I thought, you know, so we would just battle, playing one-on-one, and there were a couple other people that I played one-on-one with, and I think, too, back of my high school teammates that just kind of were very part of it. There were a couple guys that just really were just fun to play with, and we played hard. We played in the South Central League. For Delone, we were playing Central Dauphin East, Carlisle, Chambersburg, Bishop McDevitt, and it was just a high level of basketball. And I always tell people, you know, some of those teams that we played with guarded me very well, but there was a kid in my class, Doug Kuhn, who just every day at practice, he just made things hard on me at practice, and then when I go play a game, sometimes it was easier because Doug just kind of guarded the hell out of me at practice. But a lot of other stuff that happens, but you know, I'll tell you another, and like I said, McCherrystown just was all part of it, and I'm very proud of that. My freshman year at Bloomsburg, as I said, I came out after playing in a basketball game, and a couple grabbed me and said, you know, Terry, we're glad you're here. You played well tonight. And I said, thank you. And they were like, where are you from? And I said, I'm from Hanover, Pennsylvania. Oh, that's nice. We're glad you're here. My mom and dad were there. We started walking out to the gym, and my mom says, Terry, you're from McCherrystown. And I'm like, okay, Mom. No, you're from McCherrystown. You tell everybody that asked, you tell them you're, and she's right, because that's for us, that's what it was all about. It was that community and being a part of everything. So I'm very proud of that. I appreciate it, and I marry her and everything. This year she's going to do her second one. So I've been telling people for a while that I sleep with a minister and everything. But now she'll get to tell people she sleeps with a Hall of Famer. So it all comes back. So thank you very much. I appreciate it, and good luck. Congratulations to everybody else. Thank you. I appreciate it.
People that are here.
Yeah, let me do that. I'll need you.
She mentioned it.
Okay. Thanks again, Tom and Terry. It's always nice to hear your experience, and I think we all felt a part of that in our own experience as we grew up also. Right now we're going to, before we go to the next inductee, Ed Riggs here is going to introduce some of the people who have been inducted in the past that are here in the room. So when your name is called, please stand up and you'll be recognized.
We're very fortunate that people want to come back, and there's quite a few people here tonight who have been inducted into the Hall of Fame, and their pictures are on the walls around. So as I say your name, please stand, and we'll hold applause until everyone is standing. Tim Bream is here. Carol Cantelli. I don't have it. Tom Conrad Jr., who you've already met. Jeff Cook. If you want to read about this tomorrow in the Gettysburg Times, Jeff's Monday. Or Monday. Bob Gano. Over here. Ray Gowker. Barb Jordan, inducted last year. Parker LaRue. Bryant Meckley. Lee Rensel. Ed Riggs. John Campo. Perry Smith. And Joe Yeck. If I missed anyone, please let me know, and I'll apologize. Oh, I'm sorry. Dave Hikas. And Dave Plunk. Sorry about that.
As I mentioned before, there were 31 state sports chapters. We are the only community-based Hall of Fame in the entire country, connected with sports that serve more than 300 communities throughout the state of Pennsylvania. Each year, these chapters induct area greats of yesteryear and endeavors to include athletes, administrators, coaches, officials, sports medicine, and sports media. So as you look around the room, all of those have been represented at one time or another in the past 24 years. We didn't have any room in the program to mention some of our ones that have been inducted on the state level, but I'll read some names to you and some hopefully you'll recognize. Well, the first one you'll certainly recognize Gettysburg Eddie Plank, who was a major league and a Hall of Famer himself, and he was inducted back in the 70s. A football coach and athletic director at Gettysburg College, Ken Graham, was inducted. Tim's grandfather, correct?
Yes.
Yep. And some of you from the McSherrystown area might remember this name, William Wee Willie Sherdell. Major League, it was in the World Series. I'm not sure, he was a pitcher. I'm not sure what team he played for. Does anybody know? Cardinals. Okay. A coach up at Biglerville, his father, if you remember Jack Emanuel, coached the football. His father, Victor, is in the Hall of Fame. He was a great football player at Gettysburg College and an outstanding high school football coach of the Harrisburg area. Joe Sable, a football coach at Gettysburg College. He was a football player at Penn State, and he was an all-state fullback. I'm not sure exactly where in the state he was from. Another basketball player at Gettysburg College, went on to have a very successful college coaching career, Walter Bucky Harris, at Philadelphia Textile. And I think he was some other places too on a level. He might have been down at Duke at one time. Maybe he was an assistant, I don't remember. And the next person that we're going to induct, and I'm going to hopefully get his name right, Jacqueline, okay, Jackie. Joe Egg-Rasitz. Close or pretty close, okay? He's our inductee who is deceased. And Joe was inducted also on the Pennsylvania level. He was an All-American collegiate player and a professional football player and who played at Gettysburg College. So those are some of the people that were on the state level. And the last thing before we go, if you look over that small plaque over there at the Pennsylvania State Champion teams, when we have an Adams County team, a team now, not individuals that win a state championship, we recognize them. And the last team that we've had here was in 2019, was the Delone Catholic girls basketball team, and we invited them here. But all schools are represented except there's two that weren't, but it was Biglerville and Gettysburg, never won a team championship, but they've had a lot of individual state champions, whether wrestling, tennis, etc., and some other individual sports, maybe, okay? So we try to do that too, and we were hoping to get this one. Delone, I think, the volleyball team got to the semifinals of the state, and I think just lost the other night. So again, those are some of the things that we should all be proud of that we have people on. We're going to try to nominate some other ones that are up here over the next year to try to get them on the state level. The hardest thing for us, because we have such few members, for example, the Western chapters out near Pittsburgh, they might get 600, 700 members to their chapter. So when the voting comes out and for the state, guess who gets the most votes? Those people that are out that way, and they go into the Hall of Fame. Not that they're not deserving, but we certainly have some people up here on this, on this wall that certainly could get in. So again, we're asking you to join and to be able to vote, and for a cheap amount of $15 a year, please try to do that. And let's see if we get more local people into the State Hall of Fame who are very deserving. So without further ado, Jackie, you want to come up and...
I first want to congratulate all of the inductees tonight. You're a very impressive group, for sure. And while I've been to a number of sport induction events, this is the first time I've been asked to speak. That fact alone would be of great amusement to my husband, considering my total lack of athletic ability. Joe passed away 4 years ago, just after we celebrated our 48th wedding anniversary, and he's missed by his family every day. Some of our family is with me tonight. There's my daughter, Stephanie Graves, who brings well wishes from her husband, Mark, and our granddaughter, Drew, back in Georgia. And I'm happy also to have Joe's sister, Ruth Ann, here, along with her husband, Joe Wyrick, from York, PA. It's not easy to convey the sense of a person in a few sentences, but I would say Joe fits my definition of a modern Renaissance man. He could fix or build anything and bake a mean loaf of sourdough bread, too. He created art, appreciated music, was a teacher, a coach, and of course, he excelled in athletics. Joe embraced his talents, but didn't rely on them alone. He liked the word synergy and felt a team could achieve remarkable things beyond what could be done by any one individual. He incorporated this belief throughout his life in sports, business, family, and his community. Had you known Joe, you would have called him a good man. If you didn't have that opportunity, I'll share with you that he had a little bit of a devilish smile, a few rough edges, and a big, big heart. So for my heart, and on his behalf, I want to thank the Adams County Sports Hall of Fame Committee for this wonderful honor. Thank you.
As I mentioned, the Sports Hall of Fame concludes each year on the state level with their annual winter meeting or fall meeting, and then inducts 10 living and 2 deceased. As I mentioned, I named a few before that just occurred back in October. Our induction is pretty similar to theirs. We only do 5 living and 1 or 2 deceased based on how many deceased we have. And if you know anybody who is deceased that is worthy of that, please nominate them. This past year we only had 2 people up for eligibility, and we voted 1 out of 2 in. So if you know anybody that you think is certainly worthy to be on the Hall of Fame, I think their family would appreciate you to be nominated. Our selection, is done again by our executive board, and as I mentioned, we get usually 15 to 20 nominations. We have to cut it down at 10, and then those 10 go out to the members to vote. And out of those 10, 5 are chosen. And you see the 5 that were chosen today out of those 10, but actually there were about 20 that were nominated. So it's a highly disciplined structure that we do as an executive board. And I'd like to introduce the people who are on the executive board. To my, in the back there is stand-up Matt Sheeds. Matt's our secretary, Matt Sheeds. Matt just got a nice honor the other day from Gettysburg Community Borough. He was voted the Citizen of the Year. So he's Gettysburg MVP and their Hall of Famer. Again, my name is Joe Yeck. I'm the president. I've been on the president for a few years. And our president emeritus, who was right before me, is not here. He was here earlier, but his wife had to actually be taken to the hospital this afternoon. But they called just while we're here, and he was able to pick her up and take her home. So that was the good news. But he has not returned, so maybe he's probably not going to get back. His name is John Fisher. John, maybe some of you might know John. Our treasurer to my right is Perry Smith. Perry was inducted into the County Hall of Fame, and he's certainly, his claim to fame is certainly as a Gettysburg wrestling coach. Next to me again also is our historian, the great singer of the national anthem, and gift of many, and he's also, if you read in the Gettysburg Times, he writes the articles connected with hiking, Ed Riggs. So if you like to hike and you get the Gettysburg newspaper, his articles are really good. For even if you're not a long hiker, even just taking a walk around the block is probably good for all of us. The first vice president to the left, and who's doing the invocation and benediction today, is Max Lang. Max is presently teaching and coaching a number of sports at Gettysburg High School. In the back is our second vice president, stand-up J.D. Sheeler. Okay. J.D. taught out there in, not Franklin County, out in Fulton County, correct? Somerset. Oh, Somerset, okay, even further. And he returned after he retired. He came back to the county. He wanted to get involved in something like this for his spare time. And we appreciate you that you're part of our group, J.D. Okay, the next up is, on the list here is Laike Gardner, and he's going to be presented by his high school coach, Bob Gano.
Good evening. Good evening. Congratulations to all the inductees and their families tonight. Special occasion for all, as it takes a village to find individual success, and there have been many sacrifices made along the way for each inductee's accomplishments. It's my honor and my pleasure tonight to present to you tonight for induction into the Adams County Sports Hall of Fame, Laike Gardner. Laike is a 2012 graduate of Biglerville High School, is the wrestling program's record holder for career wins, single season wins, and was a multiple-time state place winner, high school All-American, in freestyle Greco-Roman wrestling. Laike went on to wrestle at Lehigh University, where he was three-time NCAA Division I national qualifier, team captain, and ranked in the top 10 of the country individually at his weight class. He's a graduate of Lehigh University with a degree in mechanical engineering. As Joe said, I had the pleasure of coaching Laike, and I first met him, or was made aware of Laike, when he was 7 years old. And I was asked by his youth coach, called me, Tom Kuntz. Delone guys would know him. So Tom called and said, hey, I'd like you to come up and watch this kid. He said, I think he's pretty special. And so I said, okay, well, where's it going to be? It was Boiling Springs High School. So I go to Boiling Springs High School, and he's in the finals, and he's winning 14-0. And, you know, he was pretty special. And I thought, wow, I love this. He's got a motor. And he was tilting the kid up. And the next thing you know, Rick Trimmer, who's in the Hall of Fame here, slapped the mat. And I thought, I think he pinned himself, right? So Laike thought he won. And they raised the other kid's hand, and it wasn't pretty. So that was quite our first introduction, and I went home. My wife Donna said, "So what do you think?" And I said, "Boy, I love his fire." I said, "We got a little work to do on refining some things here." Now, when I say that, that was my first introduction to Laike. However, I've watched Laike grow from that little 7-year-old to a fine young man who's respected by all. Currently gives back to the sport by coaching at the varsity and youth level at Biglerville, and I'm proud now to call him not only a former athlete, but my friend. Congratulations, Laike.
Oh man, well, what an honor. I thought I was coming to a ceremony to be honored. I didn't realize I was coming to a roast, but thank you, Bob, for the introduction. And thank you, everybody, for coming to make tonight such a special moment for myself and all the other inductees. Before I get started, I have a long list of thank yous. I think you'll hear that from everybody tonight. It's really the people that make our opportunities and success possible. So I'll get to that in a moment, but I wanted to ask some of my friends before I came up if there were any maybe appropriate stories that I could tell that were humorous and funny. None came to mind, but Eric Showers, a Biglerville legend, he had actually said that if you see the guys that are there and in charge of the Hall of Fame, please make sure you ask if his inductee nomination got lost in the mail. He said his 6th place district medal really should carry a lot of weight. So for Eric, I hope that's still coming, and maybe next year. No, in all seriousness, though, I'm incredibly honored. I had an incredible athletic career, both at the high school level and collegiate level, and to be recognized is really special. I don't do a very good job of stepping back and realizing just how much I accomplished. As Bob alluded to, I was a competitor. That was really it. I loved competing. So at first, really, when I thought of it, I thought, that's really cool. And then as I stepped back and took a moment to reflect on my career, it sunk in just how special it is to be recognized for all of that. Bob, you also stole my line here. I said it takes a village, and just wanted to recognize some of the people that were really helpful in my life and gave back to my career as well. My family, there's like 1 million of you guys spread out here tonight. You guys have always been supportive and incredibly amazing to have. To my brothers specifically, I'm the youngest of 5, probably where the competitive side came from, and definitely got beat up a lot, but thanks for being some of my best friends and giving me a good example of what it means to be a good man. To my parents, as I've gotten older, I haven't realized just how much that you all have done for me. Realized how much time, effort that it took to be able to accomplish what I did. And there was never a moment that there was never a no, really, in my life when it came to sports. To my mom specifically, we lost her earlier this year to a long battle with cancer. She was really a rock for our family, emotionally. Wrestling is a very challenging sport, physically, emotionally. There's a weight loss element to it, which if anybody's tried that, it's not really fun. Very irritable at times, and my mom was always a rock for me that I could go to during those tough times. To my coaches, there's a ton to name. Coach Tom, Coach Brad Showers, Coach Mitchell, Coach Becker, Coach Mel Gray, Coach Cox. All my coaches through college as well. Blurred the line between friend and coach. Brad, Hughes, Coach Pat. None of my accomplishments would really be possible without all of you. To my teammates, including Eric, you're getting 2 shout-outs. Thanks for pushing me. Thanks for being great friends. And at times giving us a laugh. I do actually have a terrible story, potentially, but I owe an apology as well. Bob, you took it very serious for us to be good people on top of wrestlers. My junior year, we had 4 people have 100 wins in their high school career, which is a huge accomplishment. So some of my brother was one of them, and a couple of our friends we spent a lot of time with. All of us won 100 wins, and we started this little tradition. We started acting like we won the Indy 500 afterwards in the showers together. So you'd go out, you would have your match, you'd win or lose, and we'd postpone it to the next time. But we'd be in the showers together. We got 2-liter bottles of soda, and we'd shake them up, and we'd blast them off, and we'd make sure that the whole place got soaked. And it was a great time. There'd be music, we'd be dancing. But Bob, you were very, very important to you that we made sure that we left the locker room nicer than we found it. The apology that I owe is, I forget which high school it was. We owe that custodian staff a huge apology because we left that place a wreck. We were walking out, and Bob came in, and he made sure, hey, did you guys clean up? And we said, oh, yeah, don't go in there. Yeah, we did it. We took care of it. So to that custodian staff, I'm sorry. But no, really grateful for everything that wrestling afforded me. It gave me a lot of opportunity in life. Taught me a million things, too many to name. Allowed me to travel to some wonderful locations. The beautiful Greensboro, North Carolina. Edinburgh, Pennsylvania in February with a foot of snow on the ground. All right, we see where this is going. The resort town that's known as Fargo, North Dakota. And some real ones now. In college, we got a chance to go to a West Coast trip. We had Boise State and Oregon State on our schedule that year. Really cool moment. We got to play touch football in the blue field. That was really nice. I got to do a 14-day trip overseas in Japan, which was the time of my life. Became really close to the 2 other guys with me. They were the only other 2 that spoke English, so we got really tight during that. And recently, last year, to Paris for the 2024 Olympics to support one of my teammates as he competed for Puerto Rico. So in closing, appreciate everyone here and thank you all for making tonight a special occasion. Congratulations to all the other inductees, and appreciate everyone's time and for the Hall of Fame honorship this evening.
Like I said, every inductee is going to get not only a plaque and a certificate from the Adams County chapter, but the certificate also comes from the state. And I'm going to let Ed read at least the top part of it, what it says from the state.
Pretty nice certificate. There's a lot of legalese on it, but the top paragraph's pretty good. This nominating certificate is presented to so-and-so whose attitude, example, outstanding athletic achievements, and dedication has exemplified the finest tradition and highest credit upon themselves, their family, their community, their chapter, and the state of Pennsylvania. So they're receiving that as well. Let's go ahead. Now it is my distinct pleasure to present Kirby Scott, an outstanding athlete, citizen, family man, and friend. Kirby and I go way back. We both went to Gettysburg College. We both majored in health and physical education. Kirby played football. I ran cross country. But in the spring, we were both on the track and field team. Our senior year, we were co-captains of the track and field team. I don't know if you guys in the back knew that, but it was a special time. That experience back in 1977 was one of the most meaningful of my life, and I think as Kirby has gotten to this point, I know it's just as meaningful to him. Kirby went to high school in New Jersey, having graduated from Neptune High School. His 4 years at Gettysburg College shaped his life and prepared him for all that he would face in his career. He spent his career with the FBI. Kirby is a devoted and loving husband to his wife, Chris, who's a Gettysburg native, an adoring and grateful father to daughters Ashley and Emily. I know that his parents were his biggest fans. They traveled far and wide to watch him compete. They were always so proud of Kirby, and I know this honor would not at all surprise them. With the FBI, Kirby was kind of a big deal. His career of excellence was important to our country and to our security. This is exemplified by the honors that he received. Kirby was awarded a certificate of commendation, a certificate of merit, the FBI Award of Excellence, and he was awarded the FBI Medal of Valor. We thank him for his service and for risking his life to protect citizens of our nation. More than once, when he was back visiting Gettysburg for alumni weekend or a celebration of one team or another, I remember him regaling my own children and the children of some of the other alums that were around with his stories of his exploits and adventures with the FBI. They were enthralled and excited to hear them. A lot of questions afterwards. Then the adults were enthralled and excited as well. So all of this I've said is pretty impressive. Strong family man, important and impactful career. But none of that has anything to do with why he's here tonight. He was a hell of an athlete. Just listen. In college, he was named to the Lutheran College All-American football team. He was named AP Honorable Mention Little All-American. He was named ECAC First Team for Division III football teams. He was inducted into the Neptune High School Sports Hall of Fame, and he was the first African American to be inducted into the Gettysburg College Hall of Athletic Honor. As a halfback for the Bullets, Kirby graduated with 5 Gettysburg College rushing records, and you can read about that in your program. After college, he played a season for the Toronto Argonauts of the Canadian Football League. The next season, he played semi-pro ball with the Chambersburg Cardinals. A little aside, we were at the National Track and Field Championships, and Kirby competed, and all of a sudden, we're like, where's Kirby? Where's Coach Streeter? I was our head coach. Oh, Coach took him to the airport. He had to report to Toronto tomorrow. So he had to leave the Nationals early to go play with Toronto. In track and field, he shined as well. Our senior year, he placed second in the 100-yard dash at the Mid-Atlantic Conference Track and Field Championships. And he led off the 4x100-yard relay that placed second as well, leading our team to its second consecutive conference title and the best national finish of any Gettysburg College team ever, where we finished 11th in the country. He was named All-American in track and field as he ran the leadoff leg of the 4x100-meter relay that placed 4th in the nation at Division III Nationals. That team set a school record in 1977 that still stands today. That's pretty impressive. Kirby stayed active in track and field, competing in the Police Olympics in Texas and in New York. He was a New Jersey Masters champion after that. Since 2015, Kirby's been an assistant coach with the Gettysburg College track and field team, many of whom are here tonight. He spent almost 10 years as an assistant with the football team. His objective has always been to inspire his athletes to always be the best version of themselves in all that they do, just as he has done in his own life. I'm proud to know Kirby Scott and call him my friend, and I'm honored to present him as an inductee in the Adams County Sports Hall of Fame.
All right, even though I'm bringing this thing up here, it's not going to be long, all right? And also for the track athletes, it's just unbelievable coming here, just really, especially those that graduated, Aiden and Lauren and that. This is so special, but if you see me put my readers on, don't laugh at me later, all right? To the Adams County, this is really an honor for me to be here, and the executive board and all those that are associated with that. I think this is tremendous. When I walked in here and to look and see the people that are here, and prior to that, I just looked at that, but seeing it in person, it's a real understanding of how rich the Gettysburg College is in and of itself. Joe Estridge, I remember when I was here how important people like that were. Knowing Jack Ruby was in NFL, and then Jim Ward with the Colts, and he came back to coach when I was here. But the legacy of that is something that I really hold. It's why I came back here to coach. Is that starting off, I have to say that for the inductees that are here, if not relishing it now, obviously Joe Estridge with your husband, how important that is to have the recognition of the people to keep that name forward. What a tremendous person that he was, because I had heard stories about him 10 years later when I was here with that group. Because Snyder and some other guys, the Lambert Cup and that whole generation where they were, beating Delaware Temple and all that was something that I still remember. For the inductees that were inducted, this is something that you always cherish. For me it is, because it's a full 360 for me coming back here. This is where I met my beautiful wife, whom I've known now for 50 years, which is amazing. That we've been married now, our 35th anniversary, which, to look at that, to come back, and to see you and to know that I'm part of this Adams County and Gettysburg history is just tremendous. My two daughters, Ashley and Emily, I have a granddaughter. Yes, I am a grandfather. All right. But my daughter, Emily, who's here, is just a treasure of my heart. And she's a reason why that I'm what I do and why I do it. I don't do it for no other reason than my daughter was an excellent runner, ran with me. I ran for Shore AC, and I remember she went to school, and the coach that was there did not do her right. And I, as a father, did not do myself right, because I should have interrupted that was going on. And now, 4.0 in school, I never even saw 4.0. I thought, that was something, I'd forget about it. But now, the athletes that came here today, I just want to take a minute. I'm going to wrap things up short. If you would stand for me. Gettysburg College athletes, stand up. All right, thank you. And everybody, thanks for the applause. That's why I do it, what I do now. I'm trying to really instill in them not only certain things I had in my life, but also it keeps me giving back as long as I can. I want to say something about JD that I always knew as Mike, my neighbor, who came to me and actually asked me about, was I inducted here? And then Mike and I that's what neighborly is. We talked all the time about a number of different things, and then it came forward that, I did have the nomination, and again, that's where I am now. Emily, thank you, sweetheart, all right, for everything. What I'm just going to do briefly is how did I get here? I got here, Pop Warner. I was born right on the border of West by God, Virginia, all right? And in a place where that part of my family's Cherokee, up in the mountains there. And it wasn't a matter of color, but did they know you? That's all they cared about. Black, white, they didn't care who you were. If they know you, you go in the house and do it. So my dad, we moved here to Jersey, and I didn't know it, but certain things hit me in the face early. I think I got fast because every day when school let out, I had to run from the door of the school home, or else I'd get beat up or get stuff thrown at me because there was only one other black person in the school, and they thought it was special ed. So the first day I'm down in a blue room in the basement, and teachers look at me saying, well, why are you here? I could put several words together. So, they put me in another school, but that was what it was. So when I went to Pop Warner, it was interesting because there wasn't any people of color on the actual team, so I got cut. I'm looking at my dad saying, well, why? Because I was faster than anybody on the team. Why didn't I even get a chance? So then this Mr. Siciliano, I still remember everybody's name. He came to me one day, he says, Curb, come back next year. All right. So my dad, at the time, I had to ride my bike 5 miles to get to where the field was and then go to practice. And Mr. Siciliano took his time with me. I made the team. I was the tackle on the Pop Warner team because of the weight limit. People remember Pop Warner Pee Wee, as it was. Even though I was the fastest person on the team, that's what it was. And there, everything went. When I got to high school, which Neptune High School had an unbelievable history also. Chuck Bednaric's brother was a football coach there at the time. And people might not know that. But Nate Ramsey was a defensive back for Philadelphia Eagles. I remember getting his spikes to put on. Because back in that day, you turned your spikes in, right? And you see, man, are they loose? Can I put my foot in it? And but at high school, track was where I was at. Okay, John Chambers, who was with me in high school, was the fastest high school 100-meter, 100 yards at the time in the nation. And went to West. So obviously, after my sophomore year, I wasn't winning any more hundreds. So I started long jumping. Larry Bunning was an Olympic hurdler in 1980. The Olympics that never were. That was on the same team with me. So when I was looking at college, I got an appointment to West Point by going to Boise State and all those things you need to have to go to West Point. But I didn't want to go to West Point. I wanted to fly. My dad was in the Army Air Corps. And all my whole life I wanted to fly. And so that came up, talked to my dad. I said, I don't want to go to West Point. So came to Gettysburg, and they had an ROTC program here. I said, outstanding. Air Force, ROTC, that's where I'm going. And so that's how that things arrived that I got here so far as football was concerned. I met Bob Lear, who was the coach here at the time. Bob Lear, I met him at the bottom of the field house. He's the one that submitted everything for track because we knew who we had coming in. And it was going to be a great situation for us here. So I said, you know what? Penn State was one of the schools, and Grambling on the other side of the HSBU schools. But Gettysburg was my heart. Something about Gettysburg, the township, and everything else here was really remarkable for me. The coaches were here. The Breams, and Bream, Haas was here, but actually where I met my wife at was ushering the basketball game. And him, Bream, used to sit on that corner of the stadium there. I passed by him there. It was then a kind of a real deal where they appreciated you when you were an athlete here. And Chris was working in the concessions. I said, my, aren't you cute? So what I wanted to say about, I'm going to lead this into something positive and I'll get off of here, is to my mom and dad, there are no words. Those who have lost their mom and father, they understand. There's things that go forward, but I can now, when I came back here, and I was coaching, Coach Streeter, and I came back, what can I coach? I was coaching running backs. I was in the field, and I could see where my parents used to sit in the football stadium. I could always hear my dad's voice. My dad's voice was one that resonated across the field. And I made a sense of like, man, and all the people that have gone before there. Lefty Beiser, who's up here, kept me together. I played half a year with 4 broken ribs, and he'd take me in, he'd wrap me up and say, Kirk, are you good? I said, yeah, I'm good. I broke my hand after Kings Point, the second game of the season. He said, Kirk, you're done? Or? I said, what's the or? So we can wrap it and keep it going. So I played the other 8 games with a broken hand and got through that season. But he was always one with Joe Dinoli and them that kept me going. And just, I want to go through all the, but man, I look at him, I go like, it's just tremendous who's there. The track part of it, the 4x1, I wasn't supposed to run, but I tore my hamstring here on the cinder track. I had all aspirations. I was 9.7 yards and, running the 100 at the time, but I tore my hamstring, so I really couldn't run my sophomore and junior year. Senior year, I kept back, because junior year I came back, but I could have run the first leg, but the guy that ran there had been working there all year, so I said, Louis, I said, you go ahead. I said, but my senior year, I said, it's over. I'm running that leg. If you want to run against me, all right, fine. So we had a fantastic team. I remember handing off Jim Martino, a 46-second quarter miler, and watching him stick off and letting him go. Oh, sweet Jesus, that was good. So when I went up to Canada, and I'll shorten that with that, Joe Albright signed me into a contract because Anthony Davis was playing up in Toronto with the Argonauts. They had won the Grey Cup. Theismann had just left, or Theismann. Joe Theismann just left the team. So in the locker room, he gave me a sum of money to sign a 3-year contract to go up to Canada. And I should have waited till what happened in the NFL. I didn't. You know, it's my fault. I went up there. They put import on your helmet when you had practice, so they know that either you're going to play or start or you're gone. All right. You know. So with that, I was there. I got horrible shoulder injury. You know, tried to get to where I could be, and it didn't. I came back here. Ended up basically living in a car, eating apples, picking apples to survive. Got one going back home. So I did that and stayed on campus here for a while. Then I played with the Chambersburg Cardinals. It was fantastic. Greg Hare was a quarterback from Ohio State. I remember playing against Justin Street, Joe Gilliam from the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was with Harrisburg Cowboys. That was a whole Dietrich from Philadelphia Eagles. That was a whole ground for basically the Philadelphia Eagles and other teams to play. So I did that, tried out for a number of teams, and said FBI, kept on trying. I got into the FBI. My FBI history is one, I was the first African-American to be a SWAT team leader of the largest office in New York. My whole experience there has been one where I say I have met more people that I still talk to in the FBI for whatever. This is my era of the FBI, not now. All right, I never wore a mask for anything when I was doing any operations or anything. All right, but the guys I work with, because I was the SWAT team leader, worked with the SEAL teams, SOTG, the Marine Corps Special Forces, Delta, guys at Delta at Fort Bragg, Para Air Rescue people that were there because I was in Air Force. I got a commission. I was working with Para Rescue. All of them were the same. The athleticism and the sacrifice and the things that each one, I don't care who they were, was the same. The dedication, we could meet them on operation, boom, everything was the same. Everybody knew that whatever they were responsible for themselves, that was a total thing that they were concerned about. Not anybody else. Do your job. Everything else will fall into place. The athletes that I have now, I'm trying to have the understanding because this world is opened up so big now. I don't know how that you do it. When I had to call Sweet Thing in high school, my dad would take the phone like this and put on the plunger, and it was done. You weren't talking to nobody. Yeah. I had to walk down the beach and put quarter in the pay phone and call her or whatever, if that happened. So all I say to this, it's a wonder for me to have the people here. Paul Sutherland, I mean, the number of guys I was on the team with, I still have a camaraderie with all of them. I talk to them all the time. When you go through battle and war, you go through things. On 9/11, I shouldn't be here after 9/11. I was supposed to have been in the World Trade Center 2 at that time. And I try to tell people that when you walk away from an event where you know you should not be here, because I lost Mike Curtin, Tom Langone, Joe Vigliano, and Mike Curtin had called and asked for me when he stayed there getting people out of the World Trade Center until it collapsed, saved a number of people. And the agents that were there in New York had told me that Mike was looking for me. I'd have been with Mike to the end. And Chris, you know that. I'd have been right with him, taking the last people out to get them across that causeway to get out. So in saying that, I've had a second life. My life experience now is, again, to even have the opportunity to be honored by people, and to more importantly for me, to hear other people's stories. You know, it's just like, it's just like in other people's stories, and to be able to tell other people that I knew of your husband, and how special, that's what makes life special. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm sure I forgot certain things, but you know what? It doesn't really matter.
I'm a little older than you, Kirby, so I am going to put my readers on for this, okay? Our philosophy and mission here at Adams County Sports Hall of Fame can be summarized in this way. And this takes place for all the people that's up on the walls, the inductees that are here in this room, the class of 2025. Just listen to this, and all the friends and family that are here. A Hall of Fame is a lot more than an overblown closet for some old relics. It is intended to be a repository for all things great about a sport. Its moments, its men and women, its methods. Most of all, it is supposed to be about Hall of Famers who define the quality of athletics and who lead the right kind of life, a life of integrity for which there is no compromise. So I think so far what we've heard from the inductees and all the people that have been in this room and have been honored in the past, we're not just some old relics. We've done a lot of good things, and a good example is those athletes you have back there that came to honor you, Kirby. That's what it's all about. Okay.
That's my coach.
Yeah. Next up is Donnie Sanders, who will be presenting Brett Smith.
Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to stand before you tonight to celebrate all the Hall of Fame inductees, but my distinct honor to be presenting Brett Smith, a young man that I had the privilege to coach and now call a friend. I remember hearing about this phenom quarterback and safety that we had coming up through Delone, and then on top of that, he was supposed to be this really good basketball and baseball player. And I remember thinking this kid's going to need humbled, and humbled in a hurry. And as a defensive guy, I was happy to be the one to do it. We're not typically fans of quarterbacks. But through marriage, I have learned how to be wrong and accept that. And I was very wrong about Brett. Hall of Fame speeches a lot of times revolve around statistics, records, highlight reels. But tonight I want to talk about a lot more impressive traits of Brett. His humility, his character, his work ethic, and his heart. Because while he certainly had an abundance of talent and athleticism, it was the person that he is that truly sets him apart. From the very first day of practice, you could tell there was something different. He didn't walk into the locker room acting like he was the best player on the field, even though he probably was. Instead, he came ready to learn, ready to work, ready to do whatever it took to make the team better, and that's rare. Talent is common, humility is not, and Brett's had both of those qualities. He listened and learned and was easily one of the most coachable kids I've ever had the pleasure of coaching. He was a leader, but it's not because he was the loudest talker. It wasn't because he called others out. He set an example on every snap of every practice and every game. When other kids got tired, he found another gear. When we faced adversity as a team, he was there in the front, meeting it head on with calm courage and a quiet confidence that made everybody feel like we were going to be okay. What impresses me even more about his performance in all of the sports he played is his performance in life. He excelled in the classroom, he gave back to his community, he carried himself with integrity and respect. And whether it was a teammate, a teacher, or a young fan, Brett treated everyone with the same level of kindness and humility. He has the mark of true greatness. There's an old saying that character is not it's what you do when no one's watching. And I can tell you when no one was watching, he was still working, still pushing, still striving to be better. That drive and consistency is what makes tonight so well-deserved for him. As a coach, you hope to have players who make you proud on the field, but every once in a while, you get that gem who makes you proud for life. And Brett, that was you. You were one of those players. Watching you grow, not just into a remarkable athlete, but an outstanding human being, has truly been one of the greatest privileges of my coaching career. So tonight, as you take your rightful place in the Hall of Fame, thank you for letting me be a part of your journey. Thank you for setting the example of showing what humility, hard work, and character truly look like. You left a legacy that will inspire young athletes in years to come. Congratulations, my friend. You've earned this. Brett Smith.
definitely some thank yous I want to say. First, we'll start with Donnie. Thank you for all those words. Our relationship was something that I always cherished. We got along from day one, and you always had my back. You put me out there early on, and that was something special. To put a sophomore out there, it's always a tough decision. You stood by it, and you let me learn through mistakes, and always helped me with whatever I needed to. We always had a great relationship. Next, I want to thank the Adams County Hall of Fame for this incredible honor. To be inducted into this hall with so many incredible athletes and tremendous people involved in this community is very humbling. This was never a goal of mine, but to be honored makes you feel very grateful for the recognition. I do want to note that that tonight is a little more special for who I'm being inducted with, Terry Conrad. Our families have long ties that go way, way back. And Terry actually played a part in helping me get recruited at Bucknell. So to add another connection to that relationship is pretty cool. Next, I want to thank all my teammates and coaches that I've played with and for. I would not be standing here today without their help. I understood from a young age, thanks to my dad, that I was not going to win by myself and was going to need good people and good teammates around me to help me achieve what I wanted to achieve. My teammates really accepted that challenge. I was hard on them during practice. I made sure that if I was going to give 100%, that they were going to give 100% as well. And they really accepted that. And finally, I want to thank my family, my two sisters for being two of my biggest fans. I could always count on you for your support, whether you were in attendance for those games or finding a way to stream the game or text mom during those games. I knew you were always there to support me and also keep me humble. My dad for always pushing me. Countless hours of work we put in together. He was always there, willing to help me, whether it was throw BP, rebound for me, even catch the balls I was learning how to kick in high school. He was there to do that for me and was always there wanting to do it. Last but not least, my mom. My biggest fan by far. He was always there to support me. Sometimes my biggest critic in the stands, but you wouldn't know that when I got out of the game. Always there with a hug and told me she loved me and was so proud of me. I was truly blessed to have this as my family because they played such a huge part in who I am and in becoming the man I am today. Growing up, the only thing I wanted to do was win. That's something that I'm sure a lot of competitors and athletes I share with, but I hated to lose, and it didn't matter what it was. It could be anything, and I wanted to win at anything that we competed in. The funny part is that my family were actually the biggest instigators in helping me lose at a very young age, whether it was my sister, who was 7 years older than me, playing me in basketball when she was still a foot taller than me, not letting me win, or doing a word search with my other sister just because we wanted to compete at something on a random Sunday. They were always there, and my dad, again, we would create games to compete in and just build that competitive edge, and that was something that I always wanted to do. And growing up, I was we were a Delone family. I know I wanted to win, but I wanted to win at Delone. My sisters went to Delone, my parents went to Delone. I wanted to be at Delone and win district championships there. So to do something like I did and win 4 district championships and 3 my senior year was a dream come true for me. I didn't really care about all of the individual accolades that I got. I wanted to win, and I wanted to win at Delone. And that was something that it was a culmination to win one my junior year in basketball. It was a culmination of a lot of hard work. Summer can be pretty crazy, and that's something that I wanted to rededicate myself that summer to working hard. That my sophomore year we had ended in a lot of district playoff games with losses, and I was sick of it. I was tired of losing, and I texted my dad. I said, I'm done. I'm willing to put in the work. I want to work out at 6 a.m. I want to do it. I want to make sure that I'm prepared to win district championships. And so that's what we did 5 days a week all summer. And we did it at 6 a.m. because that was the easiest time that he could do it And we had the same kind of, it was easiest for us because he had to go into work. And so I got my butt up even when I really didn't want to at times. And we had some battles in the morning because I was not a morning person. But it told me that I was doing the right thing when I finally won that one as a junior. And it put even more emphasis on doing just that my senior year. Each one had its challenges. Football, we lost some games that I wish we could have beaten some teams. But ultimately, they didn't mean that much in the long run because we had just moved down to single A that year, and we still were capable of winning a district championship. Actually, the one story I have about it is that I was actually talking with Nick Brady, who's a Delone alum and was a great college player, an All-American at York College. He was coaching basketball there, and he was asking me what I was doing for the next level, if I wanted to play 2 sports, all that stuff, and he was just figuring out plans. And I told him that I think we had a good shot of winning in every sport that year, and he says, "I hope you sweep all 3." And I just said, that would be a hell of a senior year, and what a hell of a senior year it was. In basketball, we played Trinity High School, who was loaded with talent, and if you ask any of the guys that were covering the game, they would have told you Delone didn't have a shot at winning that game. I actually remember a teammate of mine, Tanner Orndorff, that I think he stole the line from the movie Miracle. He said, if we played 10 times, they might beat us 9, but not tonight. Tonight we beat them. And that just fired me up, fired the team up, and we loved it. And of course we win. We beat Trinity on a buzzer beater that night. So, and honestly, baseball was the easiest one for me because all of my teammates on that team I had played with either in football or in basketball, and they knew what was at stake. They knew that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to finish with the district championship in baseball as well. I'm sure if you asked my coach, Alan Felix, that he'd tell you a different story of it wasn't so easy. But to me it was because we knew what we had to do. And actually, Alan actually called me into his office the day before the semifinal game. He was our dean of students at the time, and he pulled me in his office during class hours, during school hours, to tell me that I was going to get the ball in the semifinal to get us there. It was in my hands, he told me, which I loved. So where we played Kutztown in the district final, who threw their best arm. He was a guy who just was coming off a no-hitter against what now would be a 6A school. So that didn't faze us at all. We figured that meant he was due to give up some runs for us. But every season we had challenges, but as I had been taught so many years beforehand, we were going to need everybody to do it. So not only were the championships a testament to myself and all the hard work that I put in, but they were even more a testament of my teammates and a team that we had to become to be able to trust each other and know that we could fully depend on the guy next to us. There are so many guys that I could name that were instrumental parts in helping us win, and I honestly could not have done it by myself. Last thing I want to say is again, how thankful I am to have had the experiences that I've had in my life. I realized that my sports career was not a common thing to do, and if it would have just been me through any of those parts, I can honestly say that some of those things would not have happened. So thank you for that, and again, congratulations to all the other inductees, and again, thank you.
We talked about how time flies, and we're coming to our last inductee for the evening. And it's been a wonderful evening, and they always say you save the best for last. Andrea Wickerham will be introduced by her presenter, Cindy Small.
It's such a wonderful thing when people show up for you. And I want to point out that tonight we have a table of Gettysburg High School class of 1976 students and athletes here, as well as JD in the back of the room who showed up for our next inductee. I'm not trying to be a topper, Kirby. I know you've got a table full of Gettysburg College students back there. That's very impressive as well. Really, it's so wonderful to see the families and friends show up. I am very honored this evening to introduce Andrea Wickerham, a woman whose name is synonymous with leadership and advocacy. Her story is one of remarkable achievement, unwavering dedication, and a lifelong commitment to empowering others, especially women, to reach their fullest potential in athletics and in life. Andrea, better known as Andy or Wick to us, her childhood friends, experienced Gettysburg in the early to mid-1970s. Nationally, pop culture featured disco, TV shows like Happy Days and MASH, and the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Locally in Gettysburg, as high schoolers, we taught each other how to drive our parents' cars, crammed into booths in the local ice cream shop, and belted out Bruce Springsteen at the top of our lungs during sleepovers. It was in those days, a time when women's sports were slowly expanding, that Andy made her mark, excelling in field hockey, volleyball, basketball, and track. Her performance on the field and the court was nothing short of inspiration. She played with passion, grit, and determination. Her teammates remember her as a competitor who led by example. Her impact was felt not only in the points she scored or the games she won, but through the team spirit and unity she cultivated among her teammates. But Andy's influence did not end with the final whistle of her last game. Far from it. Over the course of her career, she became mentor, coach, legal advisor, and role model, shaping the lives of thousands of athletes, coaches, and students. She focused on helping others excel as she attended college and served in multiple coaching positions where she constantly was explaining the import of NCAA rules to kids, coaches, and parents. It was then that she became interested in law. Andrea attended the University of Missouri, Kansas City, UMKC School of Law in the late 90s, where she graduated in the top 12% of her class. Her commitment to excellence extended to her professional career, where she served as legal relations and policy director and later as vice president at the National Center for Drug-Free Sport. There, Andrea directed the administrative operations for the NCAA's drug testing and drug education programs. She worked collaboratively with more than 200 colleges and universities to support drug prevention initiatives and implement effective policies. Her perspective grew broader over time through her experiences, where she became a champion for doing what's right, even when the athlete or coach or family or even her supervisor might think it not fair. Andrea Wickerham's contributions to women's athletics have been profound and enduring. She worked tirelessly to ensure greater opportunities for future generations of female athletes. Whether advocating for equal resources, mentoring young women, advising women as bosses, or leading initiatives to advance the cause of women in sports and in life, Andrea's efforts have opened doors that were once firmly closed. Tonight, as we honor Andrea Wickerham, we do more than recognize her achievements. We celebrate a lifetime of service, leadership, advocacy, and inspiration. It is truly a privilege for me and my friends to introduce Andrea Wickerham.
Kirby, thank you for bringing that big thing, because it makes me feel better with this little thing. Thank you, Cindy. I really appreciate your kind words and funny stories. And thank you, as a person whose last name begins with W, thank you all for sticking around. Really appreciate it. Thank you to the Hall of Fame Board for your work throughout the year to make this event happen. I really appreciate it. Congratulations to the other inductees, as others have said. I was surprised to be nominated, and am humbled to be inducted, especially as I looked at the previous award winners over the years, many of whom I know personally. First, I would like to recognize a few folks who are here with me this evening. My partner, Janet Justice, my brother, Dr. Larry Wickerham, my sister, Barbara Wickerham, and her partner, Dr. Kent Mull. A few high school field hockey teammates are also here. Cindy, who you met, Lynn Huff, Mary Howe. All three played halfback, which is both an offensive and a defensive position and takes a lot of running. All three of them were really, really quite good. I played center forward, this is in high school, and tended to hang out about the 50-yard line because I did not like to run. So Cindy, Lynn, and Mary, thank you. They always had my back, literally. My friend from Littlestown High School, Jan Zanger, who threatened to wear that really ugly Thunderbolt varsity jacket, but she did not. We were fierce competitors in high school, in both field hockey and in basketball. However, we ended up as roommates and as teammates at Ursinus College. She was a much better athlete than I. She played, I watched. As Cindy mentioned, there are a few other high school friends that are here as well. I really appreciate all of you taking the time, some of you traveling to be here. A special thank you to my parents, Don and Jan Wickerham, and some of you may have known them as Dr. and Mrs. Wick. Both were high school and college athletes. Dad was from Gettysburg, Mom from Lansdowne, a suburb of Philly, and they met at Ursinus College. Dad was a dentist here in town for many years with his father. Our parents were really very, very good golfers, and they multiple times won their respective club championships. When I was in junior high, our mom taught health and physical education and was the head tennis coach at Gettysburg College. A few years later, she became the head field hockey coach at Mount St. Mary's College, now university. I mention my parents because I was lucky. I was lucky to have their support, especially at that time in the late 60s, early 70s. But they supported me in every sport and any sport that I wanted to play. But I also had privilege that I didn't fully understand or appreciate when I was younger. That privilege provided me access and opportunities to many forms of sport and education that others in Gettysburg might not have had. For example, I attended Gettysburg Rec Park at Eisenhower Elementary School every summer, and because of where we lived, I could walk or ride my bike to the playground. I didn't need formal transportation. I took swimming and golf lessons and tennis lessons at the local country club. I attended basketball camp at Mount St. Mary's College. I went to an 8-week overnight all sports camp in Chambersburg every summer for 4 years. I also had access to all things sports related at Gettysburg College. because my mother was a faculty member there. I could walk and use all of the athletic facilities and their fields, which I did for many, many years. And I had access to a great education at Ursinus College. So I give a long, long overdue thanks to my parents. I also want to thank the many coaches and teachers I have had over the years, in particular Edie Reinhardt, who's here in the Hall of Fame, and Josie Brownlee, longtime teachers and coaches of many girls' sports at Gettysburg High School. I also want to mention a few important mentors to me throughout my life. First, the 1968 Big 33 West All-Star football team and their coaches. In the summer of 1968, I was 10, and the Big 33 West All-Star football team practiced at Gettysburg College, and the practice fields were right across the street from our family home. So for 1 week, I went to every practice, every day, 3 times a day, triple sessions. I set up practice dummies for the football coaches. I played catch with many of the players, and I brought them water during their break. I stood in the huddle with the offense as they ran their plays. Mind you, I'm 10. Admittedly, I had no idea what they were talking about or what plays they were calling. The players and the coaches during that week were just so very kind to me. I just loved being around the sport, even though I knew I was never going to be able to play that game because I was a girl. The team made me their honorary manager and gave me a team t-shirt. I rode on the team bus to the game at Hershey that night, and I sat on the team bench. They gave tickets to my parents to sit in the stands behind the team bench. And there are a few things that I vividly remember to this day about that game. My mother made me wear a dress. I said, "But Mom, I'm the team manager. I cannot wear a dress." For any of you who might know my mother, I lost that argument. It poured rain for the entire game, and I was in a dress. At some point in the second half, the game announcer said, "Now entering the game for the East team at wide receiver from Gettysburg, Butch Albert." And I thought, I know him. He's a classmate of my brother's, and he's really, really good football player. And I think he's really a good baseball player too. And he too is in this Hall of Fame. It didn't really dawn on me until later that I might have been cheering for the wrong team. So thank you to the 1968 Big 33 West team coaches and their players for allowing this 10-year-old girl to be part of their team. Next, Miss Grace Kenny and Pat Flocker. When I was in grades 7, 8, and 9, girls in Gettysburg had no school sports. Title IX was not yet the law of the land. We had a few play days, and we had Saturday rec league basketball, but nothing organized. So here is where privilege, access, and opportunity came into play again for me. For those 3 years, in the fall field hockey season and in the winter basketball season, I would race home after school, change into my practice clothes, and I would run over to the college field hockey field and to the women's basketball court where my mother's office was. And I practiced with those teams, those college teams, each and every day for 3 years. And I do mean practice. Warm-ups, offensive and defensive drills, set plays, full scrimmages, and I even did sprints with them at the end of practice. This preteen was practice. I remember many of those players by name. and I received great college coaching. For the first time in my life, I was part of a girls' sports team. So a profound thank you to Miss Grace Kenny, longtime field hockey coach and Hall of Fame inductee, and Miss Pat Flocker, the women's basketball coach. They gave me a solid foundation at a young age in both sports. They also taught me about teamwork, good sportsmanship, equity and fairness, but also how to have fun while competing. Next, Mr. Jim Phelan, longtime men's basketball coach and athletic director at Mount St. Mary's College. So fast forward to 1980. I graduated in May with a degree in history. And surprise, surprise, I did not have a job. So I was back here for the summer, living with my parents. In July, Mr. Phelan called my mother. If you remember, she used to be the head field hockey coach at Mount St. Mary's. Seems their head field hockey coach had resigned and he was looking for a replacement. He asked my mother if she would coach just one more year, just for one season. She very quickly said no, but that her daughter Andrea would be glad to do so, without asking Andrea. Thank goodness I loved it, and we actually ended up having a pretty good season as well. Mr. Phelan and I shared an office, also with his daughter Lynn, who was coaching track and field at the time. So there were three of us in his office. We shared one office about the size of this table. I learned a lot from him about coaching, leadership, practice and game planning, and so much more. So a huge thank you to Jim Phelan for trusting my mother's recommendation. Finally, yes, finally, two mentors of mine from the University of Iowa. Coaching at the Mount made me realize that there could be a career in collegiate coaching or athletic administration, but I probably would need a graduate degree. So luckily, I found my way to the University of Iowa. For 2 years, I served as a graduate assistant for Dr. Judith Davidson, and I worked with a very successful Big Ten field hockey program. Turns out, Dr. Davidson was from the East Coast, and she knew her Sinus College field hockey. She was also a sports historian who taught in my graduate program. Seems she liked my history degree, too. I also served as a graduate assistant to Dr. Christine Grant, who was the women's athletic director at the time, a position she ended up holding for more than 40 years. She was a nationally renowned expert on Title IX, a strong advocate for women and gender equity in athletics. She testified in front of Congress many times and served in numerous leadership positions in the NCAA and the Big Ten Conference. I was so lucky to be able to work for her as a young graduate student. So Dr. Davidson and Dr. Grant were both great mentors to me, and thank you just doesn't seem adequate at this point. My experiences at Iowa really launched my 30-year-plus career in coaching, athletics administration, on to law school, to drug-free sport, and finally to overseeing the human resources area in the athletics department at Penn State. And for those of you who, I also wrote all the coaches' contracts when I was at Penn State. No, I did not write Coach Franklin's $50 million buyout. I was long gone. So again, thank you to my parents, my teammates, and to the many mentors who touched my life in many different ways. They gave me the skills, the strength, and belief that anything was possible. Thank you.
closing, before we, can all the class of 25 please stand up? Okay. Let's give them all a round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, please come up at the end up here to get your picture taken by Gettysburg Times, and right in front of our plaque above there, okay? Two things I like to just mention to you. When I mentioned them once before, please become a member if you can. Reach out to us, or it's $15 a year, and if you want to become a life member, it's $150. You can see we have a great class this year. We've had great classes. It's a special organization that does some recognition to all these great athletes that we have amongst us. We finally got into the 21st century as an executive board. We finally have a website. And if you look right below where all our names are, there it says, check our new website, www.adamsportshall.org. So take a look at that. You'll see all the plaques, or pictures of the plaques and the bios of all the people that have been inducted, and including the ones that will get inducted this year. The class of 25, hopefully by at least after the new year, we'll finally get your plaques up on the wall. So if you get a chance, come by and take a peek in here and take a look. And again, hopefully you all had a nice evening. They were all great speeches, and the presenters did a great job. And everybody, thank you for your support for this. Okay, thank you. Oh, we're gonna have the benediction here, the benediction. So don't leave yet. So just sit there and bow your head. Benediction, please. Benediction.
As we conclude this celebration, may we live with gratitude for the achievements honored tonight and pride in the legacy of Adams County sports. May the stories shared inspire us to lead, serve, and support the athletes and communities we care about. Go in peace and with renewed purpose and fellowship. In Jesus' name, amen.